Welcome, everybody, to the Strive Summit podcast. I'm your host, Alex Hanna. And with me today, I have Kirk. Kirk, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Hey, everyone. My name is Kirk Stalkie. I'm a senior BIM specialist working with Tyree, and I live in Ottawa, Canada.
Awesome. So, Kirk, we met actually in a couple meetings now. And since then, you've been working on something I think called Open BIM. You want to talk about
Yeah,
that a little
Open
bit?
BIM GPT. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. So, for those who don't know, Open BIM is the idea that really we shouldn't be locked into like one software developer's tools. I think we all know who I'm talking about. Autodesk. Um, it's very limiting only being able to use tools from one company, and there are workarounds with it, but there's compromises with that. So Open BIM is really looking at how can we break out of that? How can we share information more freely and more openly? So Building Smart International is kind of the big organization leading that effort. They have file format IFC. They have a whole bunch of other supporting workflows and tools to support to support Open BIM. And just a few weeks ago, they finally released the certification, the Building Smart Open BIM Foundation certification in Canada. And I was lucky enough to be part of the Fast Start program, which means that I didn't need to take the course. I could just challenge the exam, which is great, but that also terrified me. So it's like, I don't know what I need to know a little bit. So so I was studying for that exam, and at the same time, there's more story to the story of how I got into AI, but at the same time, I was really getting into AI, ChatGPT, and trying to learn the OpenAI API a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I figured out a way to basically make my own website that will just host like a chatbot for ChatGPT, but I could like customize the prompting for it, so kind of like lead it to answer questions about specific topics, and I could also give it some supporting documentation to give more accurate answers. So I kind of thought, I'm studying for this. I need to learn about it. ChatGPT is really good for learning, so
Very
why
much.
not combine the two ideas, right? So I created this website, did a custom prompt to really focus on Open BIM and all the different concepts related to Open BIM. Gave it a little bit of supporting documentation, and launched the website mostly because I put a lot of work into it, and it's like might as well make it real, and maybe some of my friends can use it for studying as well. And then it kind of got out of hand pretty quickly. Uh,
That's usually how that startup stuff works. I mean, I
yeah,
jokingly said I'm going to do a podcast, and next thing you know, I have 20 on the docket, and I'm like, oh no, gotta buy a camera and gotta buy all this
yeah,
stuff. Sorry, it seems like the beer I opened is just wanting to overflow all the time. So, just give me a second.
sure. Well, cheers.
Yeah, cheers to that. Um, so when did it seems like you're really big into AI, which is awesome. I use AI for Strive all the time. Right now it's a solo show,
Nice.
so all my all my ads and all that stuff that I develop and train my chat GTPs on, my GPTs, they're all developed around my company. And what's great
Hmm.
is every so often I'll ask them what is Strive, and then they'll give me a detailed answer. I'm like, all right, you're still on point. You got to keep them in check sometimes, because sometimes you
Yeah,
don't want a Terminator situation going on where you're just realizing who it is and wants to run the world. No, that's awesome. I love AI. Any other latest
yeah,
tech that you've been using? I know recently you spoke at Hackathon.
yeah. The AEC hackathon in
Yeah, how was
Zurich.
that?
Yeah, that was great. I definitely have to go next time in person. Um,
Zurich sounds great.
yeah, Zurich sounds amazing, but even just this hackathon, it's so cool. Like, uh, just people from anywhere really getting together and trying to solve problems using technology. And I think that's that's right up our alley, right?
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. So what
yeah,
did you talk about? What was your talk about?
yeah. I actually presented Open BIM GPT to them. Yeah,
There you
because
go.
yeah, yeah, because I was talking to a couple people from Building Smart International, and they were involved with the hackathon as well. So they invited me to speak about it and just share, what I've learned so far. And I think technology wise, it's compared to what they're doing at the hackathon, seems a little small because they do like crazy stuff. Um, but no, it was really exciting. I was really honored to speak there, and yeah, I gotta go to one of these next time. Like
Man,
it just seems like so much fun.
if I can get to Zurich, sure, no problem. Yeah, buy
Yeah,
me a ticket. I'll go with you. Sure, we'll do this thing together.
yeah, sounds
um,
good.
um, so are you a developer? Like, do you code and all that stuff, or how did you get into BIM? Let's start there. Let's hear your journey, and then I mean, I'm so curious on how you went from where you're. I mean, how'd you get to where you're at now? You're speaking in Zurich on open GPTs you created. You know.
Mm, yeah. Where to start? Well, I guess maybe leaving high school, I went to study engineering, automotive engineering, at the University of Ontario, which is in Oshawa in Ontario, in Canada. And you know, going through high school and before going into the program, like I'm gonna draw cars. It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna like design Audis and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I had the
And
same dream. I had the same dream.
oh yeah, with
look
the
at
cars too. Nice.
look at us. Who would have thought? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, how far we've strayed.
Sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah, and so it was not that. It was not drawing. It was not designing. At least I didn't get that far. It was all like fluid dynamics and engineering because it
Hmm.
was an engineering program. So it was maybe a little naive going into that, but yeah, found out it wasn't my thing. So decided to leave and come back home to Ottawa, and I wasn't really sure what to do at that point because it's a pretty big change in your life. But I was always interested in building things. In high school, my dad he owned a like small construction company. So I in the summers and off times I got to work with him, and that was that was great. Like actually building things and learning how things go together. It was awesome. So from there, I was like, okay, maybe that's something I'll be interested in. And excuse me, at Algonquin College in Ottawa,
Okay.
they have a program called Architectural Technology,
Hmm.
and so it's not architecture, but it's taking architecture and figuring out how to actually build it. How do all the pieces go together in the building? How do you do detailing? All that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And I think it was a 3-year program. I think in second year we had a class called BIM 1, which was really just Revit, but this was like 2011 or something. So
Yeah. So
all the
old.
terminology was
Yeah. Old
BIM's
Revit.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, right before that we had like 2 classes learning AutoCAD, and then I think within like the first 10 minutes of seeing Revit, it's like, why do we have AutoCAD? Like, why are you making me draw every line in a wall? Like, such
Hmm.
a such a waste of time, right?
Oh, it's a joke.
So yeah, uh, CAD has its purposes. Like, I'm not, but for a lot of things,
Yes. Yeah. For a lot of things, I'm with you on that. Like AutoCAD is great. I used it for many of years before Revit.
yeah,
But after Revit and doing, what I do, even SolidWorks, I was doing mechanical drafting and stuff like that before that. Um,
nice.
it just seems very outdated. And I think right now, Civil has its uses for CAD.
Hmm.
sometimes advanced steel and plant 3D. But I think the generic basic AutoCAD is like, I'm going to get so much flack for this. It's the training wheels for all other software. And it's,
Yeah.
we're talking about Autodesk here, right? With AutoCAD, it is the training wheels. Like, just because I know AutoCAD, I was able to jump on these other platforms easier and understand,
Hmm.
this is a CAD software.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. I keep interrupting you. Sorry. Go on.
No, it's all good, man. Excuse me. Yeah. So after that 10 minutes, I'm like, I, I don't want to use CAD ever again. And then, like the more you learn about Revit, uh, it gets better and then it gets worse and then it gets better.
Yep.
But yeah, I was just obsessed. And so that was in second year. I had one more year left. And then in third year, we did a lot more in Revit. So we did like developed working drawings. We had a class that did that. We had another class that was learning, or it was like developing a project basically. So we did an art gallery, and that was all in Revit. Learned how to do like the rendering tool. Learned how to do sloped walls and all those like painful stuff. But it was,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you learn, right? I
Yep.
remember being in third year and like, about to graduate and go out into the world of working, and just thinking like, man, everybody's got to be using Revit. They've got to be pros at this. It's been around for a while now. Like everybody's got to be doing BIM, and I was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Still wrong today.
Yeah, somehow. It's only been like 11 years now.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Um, but that was, I think, a really good opportunity for me. It was something I was passionate about, something I was good at. So I kind of seized on that and, try to get better and volunteer and to take on more, like more complex tasks and do more of the coordination role and get into BIM. And, getting taste of that early on, I think really confirmed that that's the path I wanted to go down. So yeah, I was really lucky to actually be able to work in Revit right out of school, because that's rare too. um, yeah, and yeah, took on that role really early, and just tried to keep learning, tried to get better at it, tried to meet more people and learn from them, and keep going. Yeah, I can't hear you now.
Hear me now.
Yes.
Awesome. So here's my question. You grew up with construction with your dad. Um, what part of that was something that you enjoyed, that you were like, you know what, maybe this is for me? Like, did you think ever before that's what you wanted to do? Or was it like, I went out a couple jobs and you're like, this, I could do this. This is great. I have satisfaction in my job. When was that point?
Like after school, like when did I find satisfaction, or
Was it
when?
beforehand? Because you mentioned that you were gotten into construction right away, or you
Sure.
worked with your
Okay.
dad a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. And I liked, uh, yeah, the satisfaction of like, that's something I did with my
Mm-hmm.
hands, and, or helped my dad do with his hands.
Hold the
Yeah,
flashlight right. And yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I was really good at the angle for the flashlight, but
I was really good at getting in the way and getting yelled at, but I get it. Yes.
okay.
Um, so what I would like to see is a younger generation getting into the trades and just experiencing it, right? And I
Yeah.
was just talking to one of my guests, and they were talking about how unions have these programs that you can just join as apprentices, like an apprentice to an apprentice, basically, and like spend a day in the field and see if you enjoy it. And I think a lot
That's
of
awesome.
it's great. I think a lot of what happens is people don't realize the satisfaction you get out of doing something and seeing the
Yeah.
final product.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Oof.
sure.
So,
Yeah. And
that beer is getting to me, man. That is 2 years old and
it's fermented
red.
too long.
It's still bubbling up. I don't know what's happening.
But yeah, I think, you know what? I think working in the field, no matter your role in this industry, is extremely valuable. Like even though I was doing BIM coordinator stuff, I was also doing contract administration,
Mm-hmm.
as well as like the technologist role, like doing details and all that kind of stuff. but you learn the most being out on site, like actually seeing what's going on and what the problems are, and the issues they run into. And then you're out there and you're from the architecture office, so they're like, how do we fix this? Like, oh, let
uh,
me think about that.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, just caulk it, right?
yeah. Cover it up with some more siding or whatever. No one's going to notice.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah, just hide it.
Yeah. I think trades, and we all know trades are diminishing, but I think that satisfaction in work is something that a lot of people are missing. Um,
Yeah.
with BIM, I noticed that I got to see and put all these elements inside of a model, and then prints went out. I worked at a modular factory, so I had a different
Oh,
situation
sick.
where I was able to see it actually come down the line built, and then actually see my mistakes happen as they come down the line,
Yeah.
and do the home loan thing, and then go out there and have to talk to the field guy or the contractor on it. Um, so
Yeah.
I'd never, well, I don't want to say never, I didn't work in the field in BIM. My dad was an HVAC guy. I worked with him
Mhm.
forever growing up till about 16 when free labor laws, that whole thing when you had to actually pay me. I never worked for him again. Um, but he used me for the free labor to do all that stuff. So I've been on sites, I've done all that stuff. My experience in the modular construction industry has been bar none probably the best experience that I can have, as close to the field experience as possible, without actually doing the trade.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
the communication with the field guys or the guys in the shop is so key with everything that you do and hand out, that I mean, if you get it wrong, you build this rapport with the person, right? You're doing a great job, you're doing a great job, and you mess up royally, right?
Yeah.
Um, you put a hole, you told them to put a hole in the floor where there's supposed to be a toilet, and it's actually like a kitchen sink, and then it's like this big hole that you're running like a 2-inch pipe through instead of like a big 4-inch or 3-inch. And I think those kind of situations when I get my door kicked in and you get harped at, I'm a little say I'm not I'm a little I always say this gently. I'm a little armored when it comes to the tough talk. um,
Okay.
I was a volunteer fire medic for about a year and a half, 3 years, back in
Wow.
Illinois, and so you've seen a lot of stuff. You get yelled at a lot of things, and you get put up with a bunch of stuff. Um, being in that same mentality, you got to know when to give it back to, right? And the field guys, please comment if you ever watch this stuff. If a CAD guy comes in and you're giving him shit and he gives you shit back, obviously you're going to be a little mad because he's got a nice shiny helmet and a button-up tie shirt and it's all white and he's on site. But also, do you give that man respect? You say, okay, you know what? He can give it back. Or do you like to step all over the guy who's going to do anything for you, who's like the typical guy who hasn't had a lot of field work? And I mean, like, this is a tough one for me. I'm going to get hate for all of this. CAD guys are soft in general. You go to college, you do the stuff. You're a great coordinator. You're a great architect. You're a great engineer, and there's nothing wrong with that. You got to go through college for that. In the mentality of an office, we're not conflict people typically.
Mhm.
In the field, if you come from the field and you come into the office and you see something wrong, you're going to say something. You're going to step up and you're going to have a big mouth, and that's great. And that's needed now, especially in the industry where
Mhm.
trades are diminishing, and now it's up to these people in an office to determine what gets drawn and how it gets drawn. And you can disagree
Yeah.
with me totally, but having a mouth to speak up and like say like, no, that's wrong. Just so you know, when you hand that out, they're going to call me and tell me that sucks and that's impossible. Like, this is how you got to do it.
Yeah.
So what I'm pushing is like, if you're in high school and you're not sure what to do, go to one of these unions, get part of that program, check it out. Just, it's free. They take you in there, they show you what you like. If you don't like it, you never show up again, right? Or you get a job, it pays you well day one, right? You work 4 years, you realize you don't want to be in the field after 4 years. You go to any contractor and say, hey, can I have a job? Hired like that instantly
Yeah.
with probably the same amount of pay.
Yeah.
That's how valuable trades are, just with
Oh
industry, with
yeah.
just with trade knowledge. It's sorry, I kind of
Yeah.
went on a
No, no.
kind of went on a rampart there, but
Yeah.
the idea is that having that field experience, knowing how to handle confrontation, is going to come in handy when it comes to later down the line when The trades guys are actually in the office drawing it and sending this directions out to Johnny Hammerswinger, who maybe, just started the trade that day, or maybe he's a master and he wants to be out there all the time, right? That
Hmm.
communication is vital, and we don't have that right now. All these
Yeah.
kids are coming out of college, and then designing stuff for the field guys, and they have no idea what they're designing.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
that
It's
soapbox and step off that real quick. Have another beer, Alex. Sure.
yeah. That's too bad. And I I don't know. I always try to take the approach like I know I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. And the more you're out on site, I'm an office guy obviously, so the more I'm out there, like I'm just trying to learn and talk to them and figure out like what would make this easier for you to install so things can go faster and we can get it built. Because at the end of the day, we both want the same thing. We want the
Right.
building to go up and we want to
Mm-hmm.
make money on the project.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, sometimes how contracts are set up, uh, collaboration isn't always the way you make money on a project, but um, I don't know. I find like the guys on site who aren't like doing all the paper and change orders and
Mm-hmm.
asking the architect, the RFI, like, are you sure you want this wall to be blue? It's like, why is that an RFI?
Yeah.
um,
They're just trying to sit there and yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, yeah. But no, like just be open to listening to and learning, and like everyone knows what they're doing and has knowledge about what they're doing, and you can learn something from everyone. And the more you can learn, that makes you better and makes you better at what you do. So
Yeah,
that's
100%.
kind, yeah.
If if anyone says they know everything about Revit, minus like maybe the Revit kid and the Balkan architect, um,
Yeah,
then
they do.
then I would have to
We'll
say
let
like,
them pass on that.
yeah, yeah. I'd have to straight up be like, no way. There's no way. There's so many different facets now of Revit. Like Revit is a
Yeah,
software, but there is this, electrical portion that is just like schematic and engineering, all the way down to, your panel schedules, all the way down to fabrication, right? And
yeah,
that's just electrical. And you spend your whole life there and never touch HVAC or make a set of stairs or anything like that, right?
yeah,
It's so crazy how these different facets evolve from one software.
yeah.
I want to talk about, since you've been in Revit since 2011, we'll say, um, at what point did you see a technology shift where you were like, oh yeah, AI has got to be where I got to go?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know if I can pinpoint it. I think I've always been interested in it. Um, and I always found like generative design pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I was never very good at it. I'm not great at math, so it kind of hurts in that respect. But I was always fascinated and worked with some people who were really good at it and saw the potential of it and like worked with them to kind of figure some stuff out. But I wouldn't call that AI. That's just like designing algorithms to do tasks for you. Which maybe if you really break AI down, it's
That's
similar,
all.
but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the real wake up call was when ChatGPT was released. It was like, okay, like it's actually here now.
Right, right.
It's before it was like, yeah, this cool tool that can like perform one task. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I don't need that.
Yeah, yeah. I think technology has changed so much since even 2018, 2015 Revit was actually
Yeah.
or was it 2015, 2014, 2015 was the first Revit version I used. And I remember touching it and saying, nope, I don't want to do that. I was very much in the same mindset. I wanted to design cars. I wanted to do engineering. I was all
Yeah.
SolidWorks, Inventor, 3ds Max, all that stuff. Um, and I kind of followed that path a little bit. Got into making pinball parts. That was the closest I got to messing
That's
with like
cool.
I was doing 3D printer stuff too, but that's the closest I got to it. And then like I got to the modular thing. It was a perfect mix of everything.
Mm.
Um, the tech that came out when I actually started reaching out to the community on LinkedIn or just going to these shows that I realized was out there is mind boggling.
Yeah.
Just the plugins in Revit alone. Talk about talk about naming sheets and having D roots. You know,
Yeah.
it's a free plugin that everyone typically has. Had no idea it existed. You know,
Yeah.
come to find out there's this program called D roots that can help you rename sheets and put views on
Yeah.
sheets. And I'm like, you could have
It's a
saved
must
me
have.
years off my life, you know, because I
Yeah.
spent so much time going through all that stuff individually and renaming and renumbering all the time.
Yeah.
Um, that's just software. We're not even talking like tech like VR, Argyle, you know. Have you heard of Hypar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hyper is sick.
that's AI generative by, you know, text. Make
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
five
Natural
stories of
language.
residential. I use
Yeah.
I play with that all the time. I love Hypar. If you're listening, you guys need to come on this podcast so I can talk to you. Um, but that's all AI.
Yeah.
I think when I first found out about it, I was able to upload a flat plan and was able to distinguish spaces for me. If I had to move spaces
Wow.
around, or like I wanted to make this much residential and this much like public, and it would generatively design space for me. It was amazing. So I think
Yeah.
my aha moment was probably first conference. I want to say it was like Advancing Prefab 2020. What was last year? 23? 22. Um,
Okay.
so Advancing Prefab 22, you know, I was working with Allied at the time. We had great software that was controlling machines from across the country, across the
Yeah.
U.S., across the Earth, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you check them out now, they're doing crazy stuff with Kripa vendors. They're out of Italy and Ohio, the recently.
Mm.
Um, so they're controlling machines and designing bends for electrical world, and that's like the first automated kind of machine that the electrical contractors ever had. Typically,
Yeah.
plumbers and HVAC guys, they get the big machines, they get the folding tables, it's all primo stuff. Electricians kind of get they kind of get shit on when it comes to tech. They get the manual tube benders, um,
Yeah.
or like the big green leaves that take these giant dies. And so, to
Yeah.
me, going to that show kind of showed me that there's way more to this industry than just structure, which is what my basic was. So I think that's pretty incredible. And you know, coming from 2011 from you, I'm sure you saw even more change. How long how long did it take for you to realize that the BIM community was bigger than you thought?
Oh, not very long.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I think it was a couple of months into my first job, and someone sent me a post from CanBIM, who's now known as Building Transformations.
Hmm.
But they were just starting a certification program. So I like started going through that. I went to a conference, and yeah, just hearing people talk. There's one guy from, oh, where was it? I think he was working in Tokyo on the airport. I'm probably wrong, but
Hmm.
a major airport in Asia. I can't remember. This was a long time ago. I can't remember exactly now. But yeah, just having someone come from the like the other side of the world and talk about this stuff and just see how advanced they are, and you know
Oh yeah.
how coordinated everything was. And yeah, that was mind blowing for sure. Yeah, and then I started uh, well, I got certified with CanBIM and started working with them a little bit, planning events as well, and meeting people. And yeah, it grew very quickly. And like, you think it's a small community because like
Yeah.
the core people maybe, but there's so many people
It,
involved, and it's just amazing.
massive. I maybe know
Yeah,
like West Coast, North Pacific Northwest, West Coast people in the U.S. And I've been reaching out. I mean, obviously, Canada, you know, um, but like there's a whole other like European market that is
yeah,
all IFC. You know, they're
yeah,
IFC based with hundreds of more different software that's custom made for that specific, you know, company, and is not,
yeah,
you know, Autodesk. 10% over there is Autodesk. You know, it's barely anything. And so I imagine that like if you know how to model 3D, finding a person to model exactly what you want for the program you have is very difficult. So you got to go in and learn the train, and then that person moves, and that person moves. Now that person has the knowledge of 3 different softwares that use IFC, and now he develops another software. I mean, that's how this industry grows. Is we've all been in that seat where we're like, I can do it better, you know,
Yeah.
every time. And so you go out and you do it better.
Yeah.
And there's always 10 other people that say that. There's also 10 other people in the chair that are just like, I'm here to work. And that's
Yeah.
fine. Like we need those people, but we also need innovators out there to come be like, yeah, you know what? I did my time in the trades. I'm in here modeling. I know I could do modeling better than anyone. I'm going to go out there and do it. So hire me to be your trades guy for modeling. What
Mm.
I'd like to do is see if there's a certification that we can pull for the BIM people that are plumbers or
Mm.
HVAC or industrial pipe and or electricians even, and be like, yeah, you're a certified BIM electrician. So I know when I hire that person, he knows
Yeah.
everything that electrician knows. That'd be
Yeah.
that'd be awesome stuff to see. I got some thinking to do, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity out there, and the tech is only growing, which is massive. VR is
Mm-hmm.
taking its place as more of a toy or less than a toy now. It's
Yeah.
actually like, yeah, Argyle with HoloLens. I mentioned them earlier. They're walking sites in their models like one to one with the actual, on site. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. AR is really cool. We my old firm, we use it quite a bit, and I think the biggest benefit was doing client presentations.
Yeah.
Um, coming from the architecture side, like all we do is look at plans. Like we know we can, translate a 2D floor plan and understand what that actually means, like in space,
Right.
right? But if you're
Mm-hmm.
not doing that every day, it's very difficult. Even if you are doing it, like it's difficult, right? Like
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
understand like scale and everything like that. But like you put on a VR headset, it's you get it. Like it's instant.
Yeah.
Uh,
I made the mistake of drawing our house and then putting it in
okay.
VR and showing my wife. So we're constantly remodeling now.
Yeah.
And because now we can do anything with the VR model. She wants to see it, but I don't like that. What happens if you move the door over here? And it's like, look, I wish I would have never showed you this. Now she's got her own headset and she's she's in there doing her own thing now. It's
Nice.
great. It's great. Um, Kirk, is there anything that you can say to these kids coming in that are coming out of university or like really don't know what they want to do? What's some guidance you can give them to maybe kind of point them towards the construction industry?
Well, specifically the construction industry, like it's never boring. At least I've never been bored.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much happening going on, like so many buildings, so many different types of buildings. So even if you're like, I don't know, start in residential, you don't like that, switch to commercial. It's a completely different world. And then you can, scale different size companies, different size projects. Like there's a lot of movement you can do. So, it's very interesting. It's always intriguing. There's always challenges to grow and push yourself. And yeah, I find it very exciting. And I think right now too, there's just there's a lot of things kind of coming together. Like there's the open BIM movement, there's open source as well. Uh, there's AI. Like now is the time. There's a lot of things are very fluid, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
and like I have no idea what's going to happen, but I know it's going to be exciting, and I'm here for it, and yeah, I can't wait to get started. Or
Yeah,
no, keep going, I guess. But
super in demand industry. So if you're looking for a job and
yeah,
you want to get into it, anybody and everybody's still hiring for a person.
yeah, please
Anything you
come
want
help.
to anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
uh yeah, not too much. Check out openbimgpt.com. I am planning a pretty major update for it. I've completely rewritten it from the ground up. So it'll be pretty different, but it should work a lot better for people now. Another thing would be I'm planning an event with Carleton University and some partners in Europe to do a workshop on decarbonization, um, specifically on all the policies that come out around the world and why we're not hitting those targets. And maybe try to find some solutions for those. So yeah, check me out on LinkedIn. I'll be posting about that. And there's one other thing that's not, it's not something I'm doing, but it's something I just signed up for a course from that Open company. They're formerly known as IFC.js, but they've built a JavaScript library for working with IFC. And they have a course teaching you from like zero web development experience all the way to building like custom IFC web apps. And it is incredible. And if you don't like Autodesk or having to use Autodesk for everything, uh, seriously check them out, and you can just build whatever you want. So at our company at Tyree, there's a couple of us taking this program now. Like we have a bit of experience already with
Mhm.
web development, but this is a little special with specific for IFC. So we're going through the course and using it to basically build our own custom tools to help our clients manage data better, look at their models better. And I'm not on the architecture side now; I'm on the owner side. So there's even less BIM awareness and usage, and there's just a lot of potential on that side right now. So we're looking at ways to bring even more value to our clients and create some bespoke tools for them. And so yeah, it's really exciting that Open company doing some really cool stuff.
Awesome. Cool. Kirk, well, thank you for being part of the Drive Summit podcast. If you guys listening like what you're listening to, please follow, subscribe, and share. We're on all socials. LinkedIn is a main one that we use, YouTube, and Spotify. And thanks for joining us. Talk to you next time.